trust her.
Even if you get revenge, you're not gonna remember it. You're not even gonna know that it happened.
Who did this to you?
You did.
Welcome to Davey Dave's Take. Today we are talking about Memento, the first major film from Christopher Nolan. A man with short-term memory loss attempts to track down his wife's murderer. It's been kind of quiet with movie releases lately, and there's some screenings I won't be able to attend, so I thought I would talk about this film because I just rewatched it, and I really like this film a lot, and I want to talk about it, and that's why I do on this channel. I talk about things I want to talk about. And you've heard me say this before, especially in my Oppenheimer review. Christopher Nolan is one of my favorite filmmakers of all time. And I know he directed a film called The Following before this, but this is the first film I feel like got everyone's attention on Christopher Nolan, because this film is fantastic. I know a lot of people have seen this film before, but I'm still going to keep this review spoiler free in case you haven't, because if you haven't seen Memento, you should go watch it. It's the perfect film that is a mindfuckery thriller mystery. If you're looking for something like that, go watch Memento. But this film is really elevated by its filmmaker, Christopher Nolan. I can see why this was the first film that everyone started talking about Christopher Nolan, because the way this movie is structured is so fascinating. And this is why the movie works so well. Our protagonist is someone that can't create new memories, so there are a bunch of times throughout the film you're sort of just jumped into a scene from his point of view. And as we keep jumping into more of these scenes, we start piecing together as the audience what's really going on, but our protagonist can't, because that's what he's seeing from his point of view. As an audience member, we can put those things together because we're remembering everything that happens. And like I said before, the structure of this film is so unique, and I won't go into it too much because it honestly is a spoiler how this film is structured, but we get information from two different points in time. And by the end of the film, it all makes sense. And it is one of those films that once everything comes together and you see the bigger picture, it really is one of those like aha moments. Like you really feel like you're putting puzzle pieces together and you're finally putting in that final piece. That's what the climax of this movie feels like. It is such unique filmmaking, and if you ever have the chance to watch Christopher Nolan explain how he tells the story, he explains it like on a chalkboard. It is brilliant. It's so simple, but it's genius. And that's why I just love Christopher Nolan. He really is such a creative and smart filmmaker to think of films like this, to think of ways to tell a story like this. And that's the only way this film would work. Also, I don't know why, I thought it was kind of refreshing seeing how small scale this movie is. I feel like now with Nolan, and this isn't a gripe at all with Nolan at all, I think it's actually what makes him so great, is his films feel ginormous now, and that's amazing. But this one feels very small scale, and it was kind of refreshing to see that. Like, it seemed like they're just filming this movie in the streets of LA, no crazy set piece, anything like that. It was just about this story and the way he was going to tell it. All the performances are great. I mean, you gotta love Joe Pantoliano. I mean, he was on a heater at that point. He did The Matrix. He was in The Sopranos. He was doing great. Also, Carrie-Anne Moss, speaking of The Matrix, she's great in here too. And Guy Pearce. I mean, they're all great. But that's not really the point of this movie. Like I said before, it's about the story and the way it's told. And this is the first time I feel like people finally got to see Christopher Nolan do something extremely unique and extremely different. And this movie really works. If you haven't seen Memento, I highly suggest you should, especially if you're a Christopher Nolan fan or just a fan of really creative thrillers and mysteries, because this is one of the more unique ones ever made, and this is one of my favorite Christopher Nolan films. This is a near perfect thriller that really feels like it's ahead of its time. I'm going to give Memento 9.5 Davey Daves. I think I'm going to be watching more Christopher Nolan movies coming up soon, so maybe I'll review more of them. But I've always wanted to review almost all the Christopher Nolan films, or just all of them, because like I said, I just think he's such a great filmmaker. But Memento, let me know what you guys thought of it once you've seen it. I'm curious to hear, and thank you so much for watching. Click here to see more of Davey Dave's Takes.